Good evening, everyone. This video is going to be a support session and trading review for August the 9th, 2023. First session that we've had since I released the new software version 9.2 and changed the chart a little bit with these high-low close open bars instead of hollow candlesticks. And I kind of like them. Some other people like them too. Some people are sticking with candles, and that's perfectly fine. Whatever you would like to do and whatever you prefer. So let's just get started on how the day started today. And at least when the day started, it started up just a little bit. It was just a little bit green when we started, and as you can see, we ended up down. And we've got CPI data coming in tomorrow morning, so maybe they were a little bit afraid of the CPI data and the volatility that it might bring. So we ended up with a down day. All my trades today were to the short side, no long trades, even though there was maybe one or two that presented themselves. So here's kind of like where the market opens. You can see it's kind of back and forth a little bit. It was up during the London session a little bit before it came back down, and then as you can see, it kind of brought it all the way back down to yesterday's low in the 9 o'clock time frame, and then did a fairly good job of coming back up to the close and then back down to the low. So I wasn't trading at that time, wasn't in front of the computer, so I'm sure there were more trades available, but I was content with what I had. All right, so let's get into the trades a little bit. So here is the market open. As the market was opening, we didn't have any news today, and the volume was a little bit light at the open. So we're trying to be relatively conservative on our entries, making sure we let it pull back for the most part, pulling back to the EMA. And as I was saying, the 1 and the 3 and the 5 were aligned all to the downside, and we were below the 2x200 and below VWAP as well. So little negativity, even though at the open the market was up a little bit. You can see here's yesterday's close here. So market was fractionally up, but it had been coming down. So hence the short trades. So here's my, didn't jump in right away, but let it pull back towards the EMA. So there's the first trade, and out there, came back down. So it closed the gap, right? So here's the gap close, came back towards the EMA, was stalling a little bit here at value low, and so it kind of pulled back down there. So took another trade there and out. Then it came down to the Globex low, made an all-session low, and now had to exercise a little bit more patience, let it come back up. Came back up between the EMA and the minute average. Minute average ended up holding quite a bit today. So got some rejection there from around the open, right? So let's see, there's the bar right there. So there's my entry and out, and then coming back down, and here is this one may be pushing a little bit, but we were still between the flexes. Got a little bit of rejection here at yesterday's close, and the volume point of control right here. So a little rejection there. The new arrow there. I'll touch base on that in just a second. So took a trade. Took a little while. Let's see, and I was out here, right? So that entry there. So let's talk a little bit about the new indicator. The new indicator is these arrows, right? And they're cyan. You can change the colors if you wish. Cyan for an up movement, and magenta for a down movement. And they're a little bit different than the expansions, which we look forward to. These don't particularly require volume, right? It's looking at the algorithm looks at a combination of bars and a net movement, right? So if you get a net movement in the direction of the trend, and it's around those entry areas, then it could be a pretty good entry. And usually when the trend is when you get a series of these things in the direction without any of the other variety, so you know you need to wait until the it resumes to trend. Like for instance, here's along the trend is down, right? Clearly the trend is down, right? So you get an up arrow, an up arrow, an up arrow. So you know you're not going to go short when you're getting up arrows, right? But then it gets up into our pullback area, and guess what? Now we're getting down arrows. So we want to make sure that we know what we're doing here, and just take your best entry point that is comfortable to you, and that's where I took it. Let's see, I took mine after this first arrow, a little bit of a pullback, right, and took this one at an arrow, right. It took a little while for that one to develop, but that's the arrow. Other than that, that's the new indicator, and everything else is maybe just a slight volume variation of what we had. The EMA band is now just lined. You can shade it if you want, but it just cleans up your visual perception a little bit, in my opinion, on just having the lines there. And of course we've already talked about the things over at the edge of the screen with the 3-minute kind of highs, breaking into the highs and breaking into the low bars. So can't really review that. We review that during the daytime when it's in real time. All right, so did that one. So here's another entry here, right? Well, that was that one. So this one, I pushed it a little bit, right? I hesitated a little bit on taking a trade or not, because it's kind of going into and making new Globex lows, right? So it can bounce after doing that. So I chickened out and got out here with 2 ticks. It did make another little burst, so I could have gotten the full 4, but chickened out because it was in that mid half hour kind of time frame. Sometimes it can do something then. So as you can see, it did bounce a little bit, nothing serious, right? So we need to wait till everything looks a little bit more aligned, right? So because even this is a down arrow, it was against Ultraflex in sort of a consolidating kind of a move here, right? So then it gets back over the volume point of control, get another down arrow, and then here comes the selling, right? We get an expansion and an arrow. You can have them both in the same bar. So I took the trade there and out. So I kind of like these combinations of things that we have seen now. If you're seeing some up arrows, it kind of tells you, hey, be a little bit more patient. All right, so we're at 6:45, and let's see. We're consolidating up here a little bit, right? And we're above slow flex, so I got to be a little bit careful. But at 650 plus, right, we get some heavy selling, and we get back underneath slow flex. So I took a trade here and out pretty quickly, right? And then so now I'm doing pretty well at this point. So now I'm slowing my trading down. We're kind of going into the 7 o'clock hour. Don't know if it's going to push or not. There was probably a long available here. I kind of told myself, I think I was probably already up 6+ points at that particular point in time. I didn't need to challenge this, right? But as you can see, it doesn't look bad at all, right? We had been down all morning. It's a little bit after 7 o'clock, so the new hour traders are going to be starting to look and see what's going on. And as we look to the left, right, we can start to see some expansions and Renko indications from the bottom, right? Expansion volume from the bottom area, and it gets up into this EMA and minute average area. You don't want to jump on it here, right? It needs to prove itself. And I was saying, well, if it breaks out of these pivots here, then it could go, and it did. I had no desire to trade it myself, and I took one more trade. So came back up. Remember, we're still the 3 minute and the 5 minute are coming down, and those are resistance points. And we've got yesterday's close here, right? So it didn't quite even get back up to yesterday's close. We had the 3 minute moving average right behind it. So a little rejection from there, but it wasn't the line yet with the fluxes. Tried to come back up, right? The 25% lower line is here. You can see the selling that's starting to happen. So certainly you don't want to go long in here, even though you got a couple of expansions, right? You're going into a double top, into yesterday's close, the 3 minute high, and the 3 minute moving average. And so it pops again. Just kind of I'm watching it. So I ended up, maybe, well, I don't know. I'm okay. I could have taken maybe a tick or two earlier. I'm okay with where I took it. I just had to wait a little bit to get out with my full profit, and that was my last trade. So up 7.5 points for the day. Been fairly consistent this week. I don't know if the arrows are helping me or the new bars are helping me, but I seem to be a little bit more patient with these high-low close bars and the arrows, sort of liking it. So that's really kind of it for today. If think I have addressed all the questions about the software and or issues people were having with getting it loaded up. So if you're having any issues or have any problems, then feel free to send me an email, request a little bit of help during the room time or after we're done trading. But other than that, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Remember, tomorrow morning is CPI data, so it will be high margins until a little bit after 5:30 when the CPI data is released, and should be a higher volume day tomorrow. And let's just see, make sure we stay on the correct side of the market. All right, so have a good rest of your evening, and we will see you tomorrow morning.